Hi, I'm registered dietitian Annette Maggi. My colleague Sherry Steinbaugh and I partnered together as healthy living consultants for Bueller's, and we want to welcome you to our plant-powered cook-along. Sherry, thanks for welcoming us to your kitchen.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be cooking with you today. We've got a wonderful plant-powered blend that we're going to be making, and you can use it in 2 recipes, if not more. We're really excited to show it to you.
So we're going to get started. So you probably noticed on the Bueller's website and social media pages that we gave you the recipes that we're going to be talking about today, as well as suggested you do some pre-prep for the plant-powered black bean and beef blend. If you haven't done that prep, that's okay. You can always pause this video if you need to complete a step or you need to do your pre-prep now. Just pause our video and hit start again when you're ready to go. So the first things you want to do are really to prepare the ground meat as well as the mushrooms and onions. So one of the things, Sherry, that I love about plant-powered eating is it doesn't mean you have to go completely vegan or vegetarian if you don't want to. It's really about celebrating more plants. And eating more plants has benefit not only for your health, but also for the planet. And that's really what we're here to talk about today. So what I've done is gone ahead and done the pre-prep. So the first thing you want to do is to to cook and drain your ground beef. Now I use beef, I used a 93% lean product. So there really wasn't any fat on it to drain. So if you use a 93% or 96% lean ground meat, you probably won't need to drain any oil off of it. While we're using beef today, you could also make this blend using ground turkey, ground chicken, ground pork. It's very versatile and you can use really whatever is your favorite. So that's one step in the pre-prep. The other thing we asked you to do in advance is to dice your mushrooms and your onions. Now, I like to start with sliced mushrooms because I think they're a little bit easier going into the food processor. So I started with a sliced mushroom, but you can start with whole and it's just fine. And then I simply added that with my yellow onion to my food processor. And I'm not going to do it live and make the noise, but the thing I wanted to show you today, and I'm just having a minute of trouble taking this lid off. But what you want to make sure you're doing, and you can see this here, is you want to get this chopped to kind of a rough chop. You want it not too fine. You want it roughly chopped so that it's about the same size as your meat crumbles, so that when you mix them together, it really comes together really nicely. So again, if you haven't done these 2 pre-prep steps, pause your video and come back to us once your pre-prep is done. Sherry, now you're ready to take us through the rest of the steps to build our plant-powered black bean and beef blend.
Yes, thanks, Annette. That was great. And the pre-prep really is very easy. And a couple of things too, you talked about, changing out the meat if you wanted to poultry. You could leave the meat out altogether if you wanted to and just add more beans or a blend of different kinds of beans. What we love about this is that it is so versatile. And some people have also asked me, do I have to use a certain kind of mushrooms? Hey, mix up the mushrooms as well. That is your choice. These are the flavors that you like to use. So let's go ahead over to my stove where I have pre-prepped, as you can see here in my pan. I do have my mushroom and onion blend all put together, and we're going to turn that on about medium heat because what I want that to do is cook down for about 3 to 4 minutes. As you know, mushrooms have a lot of moisture in them. As that cooks, you're going to see that moisture coming out and the steam happening, and we kind of want to cook some of that off. So we're going to get that going right now. As you'll also see over here, I do have my ground beef that I've cooked and drained. Annette, like you, I have used the very lean ground beef, and I really had no fat left at the bottom of the pan to drain. I have my black beans ready and all the rest of the ingredients that we're going to talk about here in just a second. So let's get that cooking. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our pre-prep over here that I've done for you. So again, this plant-powered blend with, again, the beef and the black bean that we have today, we're going to show you how to make 2 different recipes for that. One is a Mexican lasagna and one is a burrito stuffed pepper. So what I have done while the mixture there is cooking, it's nice to do, is to take your peppers and you can have them. I have red peppers here. Of course, there's beautiful yellow peppers and green peppers and orange peppers. Use a mix of them if you want. We're going to use 2 cups of the blend in here. If you wanted to make, yep, there's Annette's got her pepper there. If you wanted to use double this recipe, you can just make more of it. But as
Sherry, you know what's a really fun fact about red peppers is through plant breeding, they've actually developed red peppers that have 4 lobes on the bottom, so that if you wanted to stuff them sitting up, you could also cut out the tops and clean the centers and stuff them sitting up. And with those 4 lobes on the bottom, they sit very nicely in a pan. So it's just a little fun fact about plant breeding.
Yeah, and that would be a great way if you wanted a larger serving too, because these halves, you know, they're a nice serving, maybe a smaller serving, you want 2 halves per person. But I like with that, Annette, you could have a little bit heartier serving as well. Just again, the versatility of this recipe and what you can do with it is great. So we've got those ready to go. In this recipe too, we'll also add some rice. Just a tip for you to save time. I'm always looking for time and convenience. There's some great rices that come in packets. It's called ready rice. And you literally just kind of tear open the top a little bit, stick it in your microwave for 90 seconds, and it's done. So you don't even have to cook the rice on a stovetop. And it's just pure whole grain brown rice. There's nothing added to it, no additional flavorings. So that's just a little tip there. Then for our Mexican lasagna, I've just got my tortillas ready to go here. These are just pure corn tortillas. I really like both of these recipes because I have a husband who is gluten intolerant, Annette, as you know, and he can have both of these recipes, the corn tortillas, the brown rice. These work out well for his diet as well. So I hear my mushroom and onion blend is starting to cook. And I don't know if you can see on camera there, Annette, but you can, I can see the steam coming off.
Yeah.
That moisture that we talked about.
Well, and Sherry, that moisture cooking off of the mushrooms is a great way too to really get that roasted flavor in the mushrooms. And so,
Yes.
you know, we often talk about mushrooms have umami flavor, which pairs really well with any kind of meat because meat have an umami flavor too. And so when you're blending the mushrooms with the meat, it really is complementary in flavor.
Yeah, and you'll notice like the blend, like you say, we've got mushrooms in here, we've got onions, as you're going to see, we add all the other vegetables in. This is truly a meal unto itself with all of the variety of ingredients, with the protein sources and the vegetables. Of course, the black beans we're going to add. I call them double duty beans, right? Because beans count not only as a protein source, a very good plant-based protein source, but also as a vegetable. So this meal, we didn't talk a lot about the nutrition, but this meal is really giving us some key nutrients that are of need, such as fibers, such as potassium, vitamin A, vitamin C, right?
Yeah, and Sherry, it's a great way, you know, when we think about plant-forward eating habits, you know, you're just using 1 pound of ground meat, but you're getting 2 meals out of it. So it's a great way to use mushrooms, black beans, vegetables, not only to increase the amount of vegetables you eat, but also to kind of extend the cost of the meal too, and that you're getting 2 meals out of this.
You know, you're right. And I don't know anybody right now who's not looking for affordable meal options, right? It's been a rough year for many people, and we're just looking for ways to save money in the kitchen, but we still want to eat healthier. Yeah. And the other thing I think that's fun about this, and we hope you really do try this recipe, is a lot of people have been asking Annette and I just for new recipe ideas and recipe inspiration, because let's face it, we've all been at home for over a year now and doing a lot of cooking, and people are just getting weary of cooking, you know, their same old recipes that they like. They're looking for something new. So we hope that this recipe provides that for our viewers as well.
Yeah, who knew that recipe fatigue would become a term, right? But I think even Sherry, us as dietitians, right, we feel that same way, that you're doing so much cooking at home that it really can be fatiguing. But these are great recipes. You get 2 meals out of it and some new inspiration, like you said.
That's right. That's right. I think my mushroom, you can see the steam coming up. The mushroom and onions are just about cooked. I can smell, they smell delicious cooking in there. What we're going to do now is I'm going to add my black beans to this. And what I've done is I've taken 2 cans of black beans and I've rinsed them and I've drained them. Now I've got, I don't know if you can see here, but You know, beans come in so many varieties now. There's salt-free, sodium-free. These are reduced sodium beans. Even if you have regular canned beans, if you rinse them and you drain them, it's been proven that you can remove up to 40% of the sodium alone. So that's that's a large amount there. But rinse them and drain them. And again, don't worry about using the cans. Annette mentioned, we were talking about the environment and sustainable eating. And canned foods are very safe for us, but what I love is the cans are 100% recyclable, practically in any place that you live. So I always feel good about that I can put them in the recycle bin for sure. So we've got 2 cans of the black beans here. We're going to go ahead and add that to our mushroom and onion mixture. And I'm just going to stir that around. What I love too, and that you talked about keeping the mushrooms and the onion a little bit coarse, and the beans, that texture, right? The texture with the beans, and as you'll see as the vegetables go in here, is so very nice.
Yeah, so and everything holds its texture really well.
Yes. So we've got our beans in there. That's warming up. Now we're going to go ahead and add our 1 pound of our ground beef in there. Again, as Annette talked about earlier, this could be ground poultry, chicken, turkey, whatever you might choose.
And I think too, Sherry, I mean, whatever your favorite is, whatever's on sale at your local Bueller's, it gives you that flexibility to adjust the recipe.
Right, right. And as Annette and I know, when you walk up and down the Bueller's aisles, there's so many different choices. We talked about, even different beans. Look at some of those items that are out there. Bueller's really prides themselves on finding some unique items, really tasty items that are fun. So, be adventurous with this. One thing about being in the kitchen that I've learned over this whole pandemic too is I've gotten more comfortable in the kitchen, more confident with kind of being flexible with recipes and adding in things I like or taking out other things.
Yep.
Okay, now I'm going to add a packet of low sodium taco seasoning. You can just get that in the seasoning aisle. Very simple. If you're really a creative cook, I've also made my own taco blend before. You can look it up and put some spices together and do that. But this is, of course, very convenient.
And Sherry, people in my household like spicy food. So this might be a stage where I might add sriracha or some hot peppers or some added level of spice would be this is a good time to add that to the recipe.
Absolutely, and just another way that you can be flexible with this to meet your family needs. Or if some of you like spicy and some not, you could pull out half of this recipe when it's done and spice up half the batch, right?
Exactly.
So now I'm going to add a 15-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Lots of nutrition going in there. And then I've got an 11-ounce can of corn that I just drained. This is just the summer sweet corn. You could use frozen corn if you have it. If you have leftover corn on the cob that you cut off the cob, put that in. Again, we're all about reducing waste. I think is vitally important as we talk about sustainable eating and the environment. And I always like to do a little peruse through my refrigerator and pantry when I'm doing a recipe too. And what needs to be used up.
Well, and Sherry, and those of you cooking at home with us, I'm sure that you noticed this is why we said to use a large frying pan or large skillet, is because as you're adding all of these amazingly nutritious ingredients, you're really filling up that pan. We can see your pan overloading now, and I'm sure you're seeing that at home too as you're cooking along with us.
Yes, I'm going to need 2 hands to pick this up, and I think it's getting pretty heavy, but yes, I chose the largest frying pan that I have in my cupboard for sure. So you're just going to let this heat through. I'm going to bring this over to my island here so you can see it a little bit better as we start to assemble our recipes.
And Sherry, a good point too, and a question for you, but you didn't add any salt to that or any pepper to that. And I think it's the point that there's plenty of flavor and seasoning coming from the ingredients as well as the taco seasoning, right?
That's right. And of course you could season to taste afterwards in that, you're right. I talked about using reduced sodium beans and all of that because you are getting some flavoring, of course, from that taco seasoning. But there's so much good flavor in the ingredients that are in here. And I always tell people, maybe save the salt and pepper, at least the salt, until later. Try it first, see what you think. Sometimes we do that automatically and it's not necessary, for sure. Okay, now we've got all that. What I'm going to do to start here is I've got 1 cup of brown rice in this little bowl here. This is going to be for our burrito stuffed peppers. So to this, I'm going to add about 2 cups of our plant-powered beef and black bean blend here. And then I'm going to just set that aside for a second. That should be about right. I'm going to mix that up so the rice is combined with that blend. And this is going to be the stuffing for our peppers. And I will just set that aside here and we'll let that stay here and we'll come back to that in just a second. What we're going to do now is assemble our lasagna. And so I've got a big pan here. I've got a 13 by 9 inch pan. I'm going to put some cooking spray down on that. I always like to do that just so things don't stick. And we're going to start very easily just by layering things. So I've got, again, the corn tortillas. I'm going to take 4 of my corn tortillas and simply layer them on the bottom of my pan. Then what we're going to do is take about 2 cups, and you don't have to be exact. I'm going to figure it's going to be at least 4 good scoops here. We're going to take a couple cups of that, and we're going to layer that on top of those 4. And then we're going to repeat the process. We've got 4 more of our corn tortillas, and then we've got another couple cups of our blend. I've made this recipe before, Annette. I don't know if you have, but this was a family favorite when I made it.
And Sherry, this is something that you could make in advance. So you could make this all on, like when we think about batch cooking, you could do both of these recipes at the same time, cook them, and then you have one left over for dinner tomorrow night, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Or make them both too, my husband always takes his lunch to work, the leftovers from here. One of the peppers makes a great lunch, maybe with a little side salad or some fruit. Really easy to do. But certainly if you made this on a weekend, if you're one of those who does the meal prep too, and you do some cooking on the weekend, this is a great recipe to make. You could even make this blend and freeze it, right? And use it later in recipes.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got the last bit going in here, as you can see.
And for those of you joining us, you can see how much this actually made, right? So you get a solid 8 cups of the black bean and beef blend. So you can see as Sherry's layering this is quite a big lasagna.
Yeah, there's a good 6 cups that are in this lasagna. And then remember, I've already taken out 2 cups for our burrito stuffed peppers. So there we go. We've got all of that layered on, if you can see that. And then what I'm going to do is take some, you can take some low-fat Mexican cheese blend, and we're going to put that all over the top of this lasagna. A couple cups, 1.5 cups, whatever looks good to you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put the Mexican lasagna into the oven, and that is going to cook at 350 for about 25 minutes till it's heated through. The cheese is going to be bubbly and melted, and it's going to be delicious.
So Sherry, just one tip, we often have questions from Bueller shoppers too about adjusting recipes for low carb. And one thing I wanted to mention, and I have a household just of 2 right now because my son is away at college, but I also have done where I've just julienned some zucchini using a mandolin, and I make a lasagna like this in a loaf pan instead of the tortillas using the zucchini. And that's a really nice way to add more plants, right? But also if you have someone in your household is paying attention to carbs, it's a great alteration with this recipe too. And just again, customizing it to whoever's in your house and to meet the needs of your family.
That would be delicious, Annette. I like that idea a lot. Yeah, you can be so creative with this. My mind is already stirring about all the different things that you can do. And of course, this blend, we're doing a Mexican lasagna and a stuffed pepper, but we've talked about before, what about just tacos, right? You could take this blend and just, put it over some salad greens for a delicious salad. Yeah. Maybe serving some tortilla chips, whole grain tortilla chips with it. So many different things that you can do. Okay.
Yeah, I think too about like it's a great kind of Mexican inspired omelet too. Even on a weekends, as your family is maybe casually getting up, you can customize those omelets. But this is a great way to add more vegetables at breakfast as well as a little bit of protein at breakfast.
Yeah. And that's really popular right now. The other day I had a leftover piece of cornbread, which I got this from a restaurant, but I kind of grilled the cornbread a little bit on a pan. And then I took a similar blend like this, kind of laid it over the top of the cornbread and then put a poached egg on top.
Oh,
it was really good.
Yeah.
Okay. I must be hungry.
Right?
I must be hungry because I'm fantasizing about all these recipes right now. Okay. Here's our burrito stuffed peppers, and we're just simply taking that rice blend that we put together with our bean and beef blend. We're stuffing those peppers nice and full. We've certainly got enough of the blend here to do that.
And Sherry, you left the stems on the peppers for the cooking process, and I assume that's just really to maintain the integrity of that pepper while it bakes.
It does, and I just think it looks nice too. It kind of adds a nice little flair to it. Sometimes you don't find peppers that have the stem on there, but you can look for it. I just think, you can see here, it just kind of adds a nice little visual, but also you're right in that it does help hold the pepper together a little bit so the filling does not fall out.
And for those of you joining us today, we know that throughout the pandemic, there have been consumers who have been really interested in immune health, and peppers are actually a good source of vitamin C. So we often think of citrus when it comes to vitamin C, but peppers are actually a good source of vitamin C.
They really are. And, and speaking of that and supporting your immune health too, we know that fiber is a key nutrient of need, and that we know that the fiber, of course, really helps support our gut health. Mm-hmm. And our gut health is very closely linked to our immune health. And so if you think about the beans, the corn, the brown rice, the tomatoes, the corn tortillas, I mean, this is a really fiber rich recipe that we've created here. Yeah, really nice. Okay, our peppers are there. What we're going to do with the peppers is take a little bit of mozzarella cheese, shredded mozzarella, and we're going to put that over the top of our peppers. And then these peppers are going to go in the oven at 350 as well. Cover these peppers though with some foil, and that will help them soften as they cook for about 30 minutes or so. You can take the foil off at the last few minutes if you want. These are absolutely delicious, so good to eat. For both of these recipes, I recommend, think about some toppings that your family might like. Diced avocado is wonderful on the Mexican lasagna or the peppers, maybe some chopped cilantro or parsley, whatever you like, some low-fat sour cream. There's just, whatever you like. There's nothing bad you can do. Extra salsa on the side, any of that is delicious. I love these recipes, Annette. I think they're just great, and I hope our viewers are going to make them and enjoy them as well.
Yeah, and like you said, Sherry, just using the plant-powered blend in many different applications. I think we've really talked about today how this is a blend you can make, use it in multiple recipes throughout the week, just adding convenience to your kitchen and really helping get more plants into everybody's eating habits. So thanks everybody for joining us today. As we celebrate Earth Day in April, Sherry and I, as healthy living consultants for Buehler's, have also developed a variety of different articles and content. So visit the Buehler's website in the Healthy Living section for more information on how you can celebrate Earth Day in addition to making this plant-powered blend. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.